Ladies and gentlemen, YouTube, this is Mr. Mordo 85 back again with another custom, but this time it's a tutorial. Yay! So, people have been asking, how do I do my customs? What do I use? What tools do I use? So this is going to be like a brief introduction. If you've got any other questions, or if you want to know how I've done specific things, so certainly give me a shout back, comment or email me, tweet me, anything like that. My details are all down below. So, as you can probably see in front of me, there is a Joy from the Disney Infinity range. I've decided to pick this up. So from a second-hand bin, just because it's going to be cheap it's going to be a cheap example to use. Yeah. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to make this into another pun-based idea, which is Bride and Joy. So I'm going to be adding a dress, highlighting the eyes as well as the hair, just to give it a bit of pizzazz and use my usual techniques. Then that's going to be quite good. It's going to stand out and look quite nice, hopefully. So let's bring out what I use. So this is what I use mainly for sculpting, which is green stuff. That is it, one of my work in progresses, and this is what it comes looking in the pack. I use this mainly for when I'm actually putting stuff together. It's two-part epoxy putty, also known as green stuff. As you can see, it's two parts. One's red, one's yellow, and one is blue. One's a catalyst and the other allows it to be sculpted. So it has a shelf life of about 90 minutes once you start mixing it together. So what I would do is, if for example I'm going to be using it to do flat materials such as cloth, armor, that sort of stuff, what I would do is I'd mix it together, leave it for about 30 minutes to, well, maybe 45 to an hour sometimes, and then just sort of shape it into place, add it onto the armor, things like that. So yeah, it's really good, especially good as well if you want to do like two-part casts as well. I've seen people do that, and so casting resin, for example. Right. So the next thing that I use is, there we go. So the next thing I use is, this is Artist Vaseline. Jokes aside, of course, this is what I use for applying to my sculpting tools, my fingers as well, just obviously so I'm not leaving thumbprints or fingerprints in stuff. It also allows it to smooth, gives it a nice sheen, and makes generally the clay a bit easier to handle. So the paints I use Vallejo Game Colors as well as Model Colors. Uh, they go on quite easily. The dropper bottles obviously make the paints last quite a while, and yeah, it just turns out really well, I'll be honest. The other paints I use, of course, are the Citadel range from Games Workshop. Again, these go on quite well, good coverage. You do need to water them down, of course, like with any paints, especially when you see craft paints, of course, which some people use. They will just blotch them on, and you do often get weird textures. So, the next thing that I actually use are my drills. I've got them in a variety of sizes, from 1mm to 2mm to 3mm. I use them for different things, such as pinning, where I will remove a limb and then stick a metal rod or a wooden rod in just to create fake bones, and then sculpt on top of those for new limbs. So one example, of course, is my One Punch Man amiibo. So with this, I cut off the arm that was originally there, saving the wrist, of course. I then used a plasticard rod, drilled the hole into the shoulder just to give it more stability, and sculpted around that, essentially giving it a new arm. Um, yeah, if I'm going to be doing smaller things where I'm going to be attaching, such as with the Peach amiibo that I've done previously, I'll use a copper rod. Like with this, I mean, obviously this has got a large area, so a copper rod, it just wouldn't give the full stability as a plastic card with it being thicker. It just gave it more stability and means that this can be sort of knocked around. So the next thing I did was, after this, this is my next project I'm actually going to be doing. This is for a fellow customizer who is known as Amigos. So this is where I've been practicing with some clear casting, where I've clear casted the arm to one of my previous projects, which was Portal Man. As you can see, I have disassembled him. I've drilled through the leg, well, basically through the leg, into the base, and up through the torso. So when the light glows, it's actually going to glow through the whole thing. Just going to turn my light off so you can see, and that really does conduct light really well. Keep in mind, of course, this is a laser pen, so just for example, it's going to be a lot stronger than the LEDs. I've also, so that I mean that's going to be painted, of course, once I've gotten around to it. The next thing, of course, is then the head. The head's the same thing where I've painted it. Uh, Again, the LED itself is not going to be as bright as this, but you can see basically where it will glow, and it will just show through the crown, it will show through the eyes, and yeah, I just thought this was going to be really good. Obviously this is yet to be finished, I still need to add some layers onto it just to try and block out as much excess light that I can. So let me just turn the light back on so I can work. There we go. These are my tools I also use as well. So I mentioned sculpting tools. These are actually for decorating cakes, funny enough, but they serve the purpose that they're supposed to anyway for me. So yeah, let's get on with it. Right, so what I've done is I've started by painting in the eyes, just giving them a bit of a highlight there. Added a couple of shadows to the hair to begin with. So you'll probably see, first of all in the eyes, add a little couple of dots. I've also added some highlights around the pupils. Sorry, not around the pupils, around the iris. And yeah, it's going to make them pop a little bit more. So, I'm going to get my green stuff out. Here we go. I'm going to cut off some equal sections of yellow and blue. Blue, sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. Yeah, so obviously you don't need to use much to begin with. I'm using a bit here just to start off with, just to show. So you mix it in together, just basically continuously fold it over and over again until you get a solid colour with no bumps in it. So you'll see it's just transitioning whilst I'm playing with it here. Folding, folding, folding. So yeah, as you can see, it's progressively getting to a solid colour. And there we go. This is the green stuff prepared. So just a little bit. I'm actually going to put a bit, take a bit more off, just because I am probably going to need some more. So now I have got some more green stuff. I've added a bit of Vaseline just to smooth it out, and I'm just sort of flattening it, as you can see here. As you can probably see, I've got a nice flat surface. It's obviously taken the, because I've thinned it out, it's taken the shape of my fingers. But yeah, comes out quite well, quite flat, and it's now ready for use. So I'm going to cut a small bit off. I'm going to apply it around. I'm just obviously thinking of how I'm going to apply it around. I'm probably just going to wrap it around first and then shape it. So just take a small partition of that. There we go. Right. So just keep it nice and damp on one side. There we go. And around. Okay. So I'm just running my fingers across it now, just to clear up any seams. As you all imagine, when I wrap around, there'll be two separate parts to close it. There we go. So sometimes the most important thing you can actually use to sculpt is your fingers, and you'll tend to find with green stuff it doesn't actually stick to your skin as much, especially as I mentioned earlier, if you use Vaseline, it just stops it from actually sticking to your skin. I've had a little puddle there as well, just so I've got quick access when I need it. There you go. So yeah, at the moment all I'm doing is I'm thinning it as well as I'm pressing down quite hard to spread it around, as well as to get rid of any air bubbles that are currently in there. It also helps get rid of any excess lines where, for example, as I said, I've put the two bits together. Smoothing it out as well, so it looks like, well, it looks like proper plastic. It's not going to be wrinkled or dotted or anything like that. So I'm just working it hard with my thumbs now. There we go. Always pushing it down, just thinning it a bit more as I'm working my way to the bottom of the dress. There we go. So yeah, there we go. That's the first layer done. Obviously, I'm going to probably clean it up a little bit with my tools as well, just to keep everything smooth. Just running my thumbs over the back just to ease that bit up. So this will probably go hard in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm just going to be propping the back of the dress up as well, just so then, well, after I'm done doing everything, just so then it stands up a bit. So what I'm planning now is I'm going to actually be doing the shoulder bands, as you probably tell on places like Peach, where she has those large bubble bits. I'm going to be taking that as my inspiration. There we go. So I'm just going to apply it near the shoulder blade. Try and press it around as much as I can. Use my fingers. What I'll also be using at this point as well is I will be using my I'll also be using one of my sculpting tools, just to sort of press it in the nooks and crannies that I need to as well. So, because obviously when you've got things like the head, you're not going to be able to do it. So this is a plastic clay shaper. I've added a bit of Vaseline on there, as I mentioned. Just going to be pressing it in to the folds, just so then it resembles. Right, there we go. Okay. It's also good as well, so if, for example, you do leave fingerprints, like I've left a little one there, you can just rub it over with the rubber-ended sculpting tool, and it just helps smooth things out, gets rid of any fingerprints, and yeah, it just adds a little bit of final touch there. So you can see here, there's been just where it's been folded, or small bits of air bubbles because I've got the heating on underneath it. There we go. Just going to smooth all that out like that. So obviously I'm just going to keep this bit up because I don't want to end up having the dress folded down. And I'm just going to go over everything smoothly. Obviously I'm going to be applying another layer to this anyway, but I'm showing this off, so got to keep it all looking good. So running over thumbs over again, a little bit more Vaseline just to keep it all nice and clean looking. So there we go, a bit more, just folding it again just to keep it fresh. And here we go with the second shoulder. Pressing that in nice and snugly. Taking my tool. And there we go, just folding it in now as well. There we go, and a bit more, and a bit more. So yeah, sometimes you'll come across bits like the head here where it's just because of the positioning it can be quite bad. So I'm using my actual blade here just to get in just that little bit more, because again the clay shaper is just too thick at this point. There we go. So what I'm doing here is just adding a bit more because it didn't quite reach around. There we go. Just try and smooth that in so it doesn't stand out as much as well. Again, just apply a bit more Vaseline just to stop it from sticking to the plastic. So now that I've got the shoulders looking the way I like, what I'm going to be doing now is just sort of pulling them using the corner of the sculpting tool, just so then they are not fully attached to the body, and they kind of look like their sleeves, where as Joy is lifting her arms up, they just sort of dangle a little bit. So I'm just carefully pulling this down here. You'll probably be able to see it in the final product, just as you can see. There we go. So that looks a bit more like physics is actually applying there. I'll do the same thing with this arm, again just using the corner just to disconnect it from the arm, give it a bit of gravity, and just give it that more realistic look. Also I can see that I've not fully got it in the crook here, so again I'm just using my knife just to press it in a bit more. There we go. Obviously, as well, be careful around knives, guys. They are a bit a bit dangerous to work with at times. So, right, now I've finished with the sculpting. As you can see, this is mostly hardened. I've finished off with the second layer on the dress. I've given her a bit of a sash as well, just to tie things together, and I thought it would just, well, basically just give it a bit more of a better look to it. So, as I mentioned, with the green stuff, it's still quite a bit flexible, so this will still take a sort of half hour before it's fully dried. But at the same time, it's hard enough that I can just sort of play around with it as I want. So I've also given the hair a bit of a highlight as well, as you could probably see whilst I'm just sort my other stuff out. So now we're going to be moving on to painting. So I'm going to start off with using Astronomical Grey from the Citadel Foundations series. It's just I always find that working from grey up when I'm going to be painting white just seems to make the white pop out a bit more. It's easier as well, so if you do miss places, they're not going to be jutting out like if you're doing white on black, because that's very hard. Work on grey, work upwards, and it works quite well. Again, I want to make sure people are aware, make sure to water down your paints, because otherwise you're going to get splotchy, especially when you're using these cheaper paints from, it's the American ones, Walmart or something, these crafting paints.
Okay guys, so I finished the painting for the white dress. As you can see, nice smooth colours everywhere, a bit of a gloss to it due to the silver that I've added. I've also gone ahead and painted the sash. As you can see, I've matched it with the colour of her dress, which is a nice light yellow, as well as, if you can probably see there, I've added the little star effects on there, which, funny enough, that was what shape Joy was based off. She was based off a star. Yeah, things like sadness being on a tear, but that's obviously not relevant at this point. I also got one of these little gems. Thought it'd be a nice little thing, nice little eye catcher. And as you can probably see here, you've got a better view of the eyes now. So you can see how I've made a bit more sort of brighter, added dots in there. And yeah, the shabby bride and joy. So, yeah, as usual, guys, as I said at the beginning of this video, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to know how to do in particular, obviously, please let me know. I still have the Saitama amiibo available if anyone is interested in purchasing them. So, yeah, again, just let me know with that. And I shall catch you next custom. Thank you again. Goodbye.